Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review on Hogwarts Legacy, the game that pretty much stirred the pot and managed to not only blow Twitch's viewership out of the water, but it also put the morals and the motivations of the trans community pretty much in the spotlight, I would say. But I'm not really here to necessarily talk about what others thought of the game. I'm here to discuss what I thought of the game, seeing how I pretty much have no stake in this game whatsoever. I'm not being paid to love it. I'm not being paid to hate it. I'm just a dude. I just watched the movies. That's really all I did. I also have a girlfriend that's borderline obsessed with the wizarding world. I never really dove into the books because, like many of you, I can't read. So yeah. On a serious note, I want to give you my opinions on what I think of the game and possibly sway you to either play it or just straight up avoid it, to be honest. Again, I've only really watched the movies, so my opinion when it comes to like the lore of Harry Potter and like the Hogwarts world itself may be a little bit different than a lot of people, just because, like I said, I haven't dove deep into the books as much as a lot of other people that are fans of this series have. I like playing the game. I like video games. I like movies. That's kind of what I stick to. Again, I can't read. Maybe you can't read either. Or maybe it's your first day on Earth, and maybe this is like the first time you've ever heard of this game or, you know, the Harry Potter world in general. So either way, no matter how you find this game, I should be able to help you without much bias whatsoever. So let's get into it. In the background, you're going to be seeing gameplay from my stream. I pretty much just cut it from my stream, so it might not have like these perfect jump cuts to the sections I'm speaking on. But, you know, just know that the gameplay I'm showing shouldn't have any spoilers in it whatsoever. And if there are spoilers, it's really just the dialogue, and there's not really, I don't think it's that big of a deal in my opinion, but to each his own. So it shouldn't really cause any concerns for newer players, if, you know, people who are trying to get into the game. Now, I want to start by saying this is an RPG. You'll begin by creating a character, as in like your hair, your face, your gender, your voice. Now the character creation isn't much to go on. They give you like 30 options, I would say, for starter faces. I'd say like maybe like 6 or 7 or so maybe per ethnicity, and it doesn't really offer that many. It doesn't really offer what many thought would be on par with like a Skyrim or a Dark Souls level of customizations. Now that's not a big deal because the character you select, no matter what, looks good in and out of cutscenes. I think if they allowed us to create a monstrosity, it just wouldn't look right in the game. So that's not as big of a deal as I originally thought upon booting up the game. I chose the middle voice because the others just didn't sound any different at all. I don't know if that was a glitch or what that was all about, but I just chose the main voice that you have pretty much. So I never had an issue with my character's voice or dialogue really at all. I can understand people being a bit annoyed with the lack of customizing of characters in the game, but you have to remember you're playing as a 16-year-old, so get over it. Normally when it comes to creating a character, I get way too deep into it to try and make them look like me a lot of times. So normally I'll just stick with the original like design of the character. Like with Mass Effect, I just chose regular Commander Shepard because I felt like he looked weird whenever I would try to change the way he would look. I feel like they designed the game to go around that specific look of the character, and if you choose something else, good for you, but at the same time it might not look as natural. So that was kind of my insight for you guys when it comes to creating a character. I would suggest just dealing with the fact that you can put scars and lipstick on your character, and that's about it. Other than that though, you're immediately thrown into chaos when you and your mentor, he's pretty much your best friend, he's like a guide or whatever, you're port keyed to some ancient magic area where we start to discover that our character is like the chosen one technically, or something that makes you as the player feel relevant, honestly. From there, you'll be ported to Hogwarts and selected into a house. Now really quick with the houses, the house selecting is pretty simple. You know, they ask you 1 or 2 easy to answer questions and boom, you're sorted in. Snake gang, baby. Snake gang, baby. Snake gang. And just as a reminder, you can connect your wizarding app to the game if you want to, and I think it auto selects you in without having to do a bunch of questions, so it's more natural, I believe. But take that with a grain of salt. I'm not too sure what they do with the whole connecting accounts thing. I'm just assuming at this point when it comes to that, because they did make it seem like when you connect your account, things go smoother. So that's why I'm assuming like maybe it is faster and you don't have to answer questions and stuff. To each his own. I didn't link anything. My girlfriend didn't link anything. My friends didn't link anything. We kind of just went off of how the game shipped. We didn't link anything when it came down to it. But I do wish they gave you more questions to answer, because the way it was really just too easy, and it felt kind of rushed when they sorted me into my house. It was like, hey, what are your motivations? And I said ambitious, and it was like, you're Slytherin. I was like, okay, cool. From that point on, you're thrown right into Hogwarts, and man, do I gotta say, the Hogwarts, the game in general is gorgeous. Everything, there's so much detail. Everything looks really, really, really nice. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, there's so many secrets and things to just go out of your way and get lost in. It's truly awesome. You'll start noticing side quests and people that need your help, like any RPG would, as well as fun and challenging puzzles on top of that. Though a lot of the puzzles get a bit repetitive, I would say, due to them not really being too, I didn't think they were too challenging, and they were just there's just a lot of them. There's so many of them, and there's a variety, but they're not really hard. Once you do it the first time, you'll see one that's just like that one later, and you're like, oh, I know how to do this. And it makes you feel pretty smart, I guess, but it's really just as easy as triggering it, doing the Revelio thing where it shows you like your eagle vision or whatever. It shows you a little blue icon where you need to go. You'll go there, you'll grab what you need to grab and come back. And that's just an example, but it's pretty much easy like that. Though I didn't really like hate doing the puzzles. I did them all, and it was really fun just because like I'm OCD and I like to do everything. So it felt really good to kind of just get them done. But they could have had a little more variety, in my opinion, if they were going to have so many of them in the game. I still had to stop and think quite a few times while doing them. And I suppose that's a plus. The game does make you think. From here, you pretty much just explore and move the story along as you would with any other RPG. You'll also be given like character and friend specific quests that have a lot more detail than your average fetch quest. These quests last throughout the whole game. The side quests that you do for these friends have a lot of weight when it comes to the progression of that character. So you will see subtle differences as you're going through these. It does progress. Like there is a lot of like heartfelt stuff going on in these side quests, so I wouldn't avoid them. These quests are arguably better than the main quest, in my opinion. That's not saying the main quest it sucks or anything like that. It's actually the opposite. I really enjoyed the story of this game, but I like the side stuff even more. Naturally, when I play RPGs, as soon as I'm given the freedom to explore, I go and explore. I explore and I do all the little question marks just so I'm overpowered and ready to go. Not overpowered, but so I'm strong and I can naturally flow through the main story without dying over and over again and getting frustrated. And that's what I did with this game. And the game rewards you by making you strong, I feel like. The main story is cool. The bad guys are mostly goblins seeking power, or whatever the fuck goblins do, I guess, in this world. But I enjoyed the main baddie of the game. He was menacing. He's pretty creepy, short little fucker, but he was creepy as hell. Yet the game didn't always bring him out. He was more in the background and would randomly he would randomly like show up on missions. Like you're doing for example, there's a mission where you're like kind of like going undercover and you're sneaking through like a goblin camp or something, and he shows up and he's kind of just, his tone is very menacing. He's telling people what to do, and you can tell he's the bad guy. You can definitely tell he's the bad guy, and he's good. I liked him. His dialogue was cool. He was definitely there. Felt like he could have been in the game a little bit more, but for what we got, he was pretty cool. I don't want to talk much about the story though, due to spoilers. I know a lot of people get upset about stuff like that, and I would too, honestly, if I was watching a review and somebody spoiled the game for me. Just know that the main quest is sufficient. It's good. It's good. It works. But once you get the training wheels off after like 6 or so hours, I would say, you'll be free to explore and enjoy the world as much as you want, pretty much as you see fit. Though I'd advise doing about 15 or so hours of story and side quests to unlock the spells and abilities to open secrets in the massive world that this game has. There'll be moments when you'll be like flying over a ruin and you'll stop at that ruin and you'll notice that you need a spell to get through the door. Now, if you would have just progressed a little more, you would have gotten that spell and you wouldn't have to come back to that ruin. But, it's an RPG. It happens sometimes. Speaking of spells and abilities, you'll be going to a variety of classes where you'll be taught all sorts of spells and functions of the game. Like I said, you'll get things that you could have used in the world before, and now like, oh, maybe I should have gone to class first and then I would know how to open this. It's cool, I suppose. I wish there were more classes to attend throughout the game on my playthrough, though. More so like Rockstar's Bully. If you guys have ever played that, you go to class all the time. But I admit the detail in these classes in Hogwarts are way more detailed. There's way more detail when it comes to like the story element of going to class and everything. With Bully, you kind of just went to unlock like a toy or something like a stink bomb or something like that, and you didn't have to go to class. It was just there. In this, you do need to go to class, and I just wish there were more moments of going to class. You'll learn things like potion making and how to capture and breed beasts. It's very fun and rewarding. It very much is. I won't spoil much of the room of requirement. There is a room of requirement, but I won't spoil a lot about it. But I will say this right now: holy shit, it is awesome. You can literally customize the walls, the ceiling, the floor, put furniture down. It's just great. You can connect with your room, and it just feels like it's your room. You can change the atmosphere, the tone of it. You know, the you can make it dark, you can make it starry, you can make it, you know, bright. You can do whatever you want with it pretty much, and it's really cool. Just know that I had a lot of fun with the room of requirement, and you know, breeding things and doing all that stuff is really, really fun in my opinion. And I'm not really somebody who's big on like building stuff in games. I'm not a Minecraft guy. I'm not creative enough to lay something out in a blueprint and do it. And the game really, really helps you figure it out. And it's really, really like easy once you get it down. Speaking of, like I said, I'm not much of a builder in games. The game holds your hand and teaches you how to build your room up really nice, and I really appreciated it for doing that, because again, I'm not really into like Minecraft and stuff like that. I'm not the kind of guy that'll go into Forge and Halo and make a map just out of nowhere. I don't feel like I'm creative enough to do stuff like that, but some people will love it. So I think people will absolutely love it. And for somebody who's not into that kind of stuff, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm more into like the gameplay stuff. I'm more into like going out and doing the adventuring and, you know, all that kind of shit. Though I did see somebody on YouTube who did like 40 straight hours of just making their room of requirement look awesome, and it looked absolutely amazing. Speaking of gameplay though, I'm gonna jump into the gameplay a little bit. Gameplay. The game's a third person, somewhat over the shoulder game. Sadly, you can't change your wand hand. Like, you can't be left-handed, you have to be right-handed, which I thought was a little weird. You also can't adjust the FOV, which is the field of view for those who don't know. Field of view is when the camera is closer or farther away from your character. In games like Call of Duty, field of view is necessary because it zooms your camera out a little bit more, so you'll see more of your gun, you'll see more of the picture in front of you, so you can see people on the right and left side, and you just get more depth perception pretty much. There is no way to adjust that in this game, and that leads to a lot of goofy movement problems a lot of goofy camera movement issues in my opinion. Like when the character's against a wall, for instance, like when you're getting backed up while you're casting your spells on enemies and you get backed up, sometimes the camera will just kind of cram itself into the back of your character's head. It's annoying when it's in the moment, but for the most part, the gameplay feels defined, smooth, and very fluid. Combat as a whole is very, very smooth. You'll be using the camera to free aim at things, at targets, and it surprisingly feels really nice and snappy. Switching spell sets and juggling enemies based on their weaknesses is very, very smooth, and really makes you feel like the witch or the wizard that you were really meant to be, in my opinion. Though there is a bit of a learning curve to the hit, block, dodge routine. Once you get it, it's hard to stop wanting more of it. The combat is tough sometimes, seeing how personally I hate having to hit triangle to hit block or parry. Just because I'm somebody, I normally use paddles on my PlayStation controller. I don't have paddles. So when it comes to like the triangle button, I like to be able to keep especially for this game, because you aim with your right stick and it's kind of a free aim mechanic. So when you're aiming, you know, I'm trying to dodge while also moving my camera to the right to catch the enemy that I just dodged, while also trying to hit the triangle or Y button to block or parry something. And it's just way too much movement with my thumbs, and it kind of just irritates me. But like I said, it's just because I'm the kind of person that likes to be able to, I used to claw my controller a lot, which is when you pretty much take your controller and you go like this. A lot of times, or you go like this a lot of times. I'll do that a lot in this game, though. Like I said, if you have paddles, it'll feel probably a lot better for somebody like me. I wish they had a controller mapping option that would have saved me countless annoying combat moments, to be honest. I will say having paddles will be very helpful to those that want to utilize the combat on a much deeper and more like quick type of level, though it's not required. It's really personal preference on my part. The combat never gets too tough though, mainly because there isn't a whole lot of enemies. They all they all function similar to their main variants. For example, small spiders and big spiders are pretty much the same. Just scale wise, they're a bit different. So you'll get like a massive spider and then you'll get like a small spider, but they pretty much do the same thing. They pretty much have the same weakness. Like with like some of the poachers, like the main, like the raiders or whatever they are, the human characters. There'll be some that are like big buff ones that you can't really stun all that well. So you have to kind of combo them and hit them with like big, like massive spells pretty much. But then there's like the smaller enemies that you can pick up and slam and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of variety, but it's not a lot. It's not like a massive amount of variety. Like I said, it's really just scale. It's really sometimes the enemy's bigger, sometimes he's smaller. Though I wish to have more variety with the enemies. I was overall satisfied with the enemies the game offers. The game's combat makes you think, and that's a standout point for majority of this game, combat included. It just makes you think. It makes you think about what you're going to do next a lot of times, and it doesn't push you to hurry up at all. It's very like, it goes at your pace. You know, you dodge, switch stuff up, try something different. It's not that hard. It really isn't. And really quick, yes, there are killing curses. I know a lot of people already know about these. You can't just run up to random students and be that guy that just like straight up murders people. Though not being able to mindlessly murder students, I'm sure is like a massive deal breaker for a lot of you psychopaths out there. Sorry, you'll just have to go and mod the game on PC. That's really the only way you're going to be able to kill actual characters that are in the school and stuff like that. The killing curses are completely optional though, and they don't come into play until really later in the game, I would say. So it's not something to really look into all that much. The game also tries to teach you different combos and, you know, different weaknesses of enemies via the dueling feats functionality in the game. Dueling feats are a really creative way to teach the player how to get creative with the way that they're killing enemies. They pop up every so often, they're optional, and give you a bit more shock and awe in combat, I would say. The game definitely promotes doing a variety of combos, and frankly, I love doing them. I didn't feel burdened by them at all. You can pick a group of enemies up, for instance, slap them a few times with a combo, slam them into the ground, then turn, quickly parry an enemy's attack. That parry might stun them. And then you can look back at the enemies that you just pushed or slammed away from you. You can pull them to you, for example. You can cast like a fire spell that's supposed to be more defensive, but you can use it as an offensive weapon and burn all of them that you just pulled to you in the surrounding area. Another good example of just like things you can do, you can curse enemies, for instance, by doing like a parry or like a parry to a stun, which what I mean by that is you can hold triangle when the parry comes up and your character will do a spin and he'll stupefy somebody, and that'll curse them technically. And when you do that, you can curse somebody by parrying them, and then when you've leveled up a little bit more, you can buy a skill or a talent, they call it in this game, that lets you slightly damage all cursed enemies around you while you're just hitting the one guy. So meaning you can pretty much hit every enemy at once just by focusing one guy, so long as you've cursed everybody else. It's very diverse in my opinion. So there's a lot of different ways. You know, I would just randomly fly around and I would find a group of enemies and I would just land in just to fucking massacre them pretty much with just different combos that I created. It's very diverse, like I said. All in all, I love the combat. It felt defensively like an Arkham game, with like the yellow and red Spidey sense thing appearing over your head. It was also in the Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man game as well. It's a pretty copy-paste combat mechanic. It's pretty standard. I think it's pretty easy to understand as well. I think that's why they always put it in these games. It's just really simple to understand. Yellow means you can dodge or parry it. Red means you need to dodge it because you can't parry it. It'll break your guard pretty much. Typical shit. Now I'm going to move on to some of the issues I had with this game. Now note that my issues with this game aren't like game breakers or anything. You know, these aren't issues that are going to completely like make me not want to play the game at all. It's actually the opposite. A lot of the issues in this game are just things that I feel like they could fix with a sequel. Personally, some of those issues though that I have with this game would be the fact that it's a softcore RPG. It's genuinely very soft. I know that sounds like a personal preference, but it is soft. For example, the game's easy as hell. It is crazy easy. I had a buddy actually that had to up the difficulty to the hardest, and he still said he felt crazy overpowered. And I played on normal. Hard is the hardest, and I played on normal. And I you know, you take some good damage, but you know. you deal so much damage. Like it's crazy how much damage you'll deal to these enemies. And you know, it's okay because they don't feel spongy at all, but you're very strong. Your character is very strong. Another issue is that the game's dialogue is very straightforward. And what I mean by straightforward is that you have all these different options, but no matter the option that you pick, you'll always be stuck doing something you otherwise might not want to help with or want to do in general. It almost feels like Fallout 4 in a lot of ways, where you have the option to say no, but you're always forced to say yes anyways. That annoys me. That always has annoyed me. I get that the game has to like progress and all that stuff, but there are many examples of games that utilize the different story branches based off of your dialogue options, and this game doesn't really utilize that at all. You have the option to be like snarky and kind of a dick to people, I suppose, but you always sound nice regardless of your response. Like you can say something that might look like it's a backhanded slap to the face, but he'll say it with a smile on his face and he'll be really nice about it either way. Like for instance, you can say that sounds really dangerous, but you'll end up going and doing that alone no matter what. Another example, there's a part in the game where the character needs you to go through like a tough ruin, or whatever it is. It's like a ruin or a cave or something, and you have the actual option to say, I may need to get some help with this one, and you're literally forced to go alone either way. So that annoyed me mainly because throughout the game I'm making these friends that I'm doing side quests for that are really cool people, and in those side quests you're walking with them and fighting people with them. To me it's more of an illusion of choice. I hate that aspect of this game. That is probably my least favorite part of the game, is that there's really just no choice. Like like it shows you a choice, but there is no choice. You look at games like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Mass Effect, et cetera, and you'll see choice. You'll see choice that affects the game at some point. Here in this game, though, there really isn't any choice. It's also annoying that you can make all these friends, like I said before, and you still aren't able to bring a friend or an NPC with you on your journey. Similar to how, like, you know, I wanted it to be more similar to how the movies are, where Harry always had Ron or Hermione with him in the films. You know what I mean? Harry, like my buddy Eric said this to me, and I thought I'd put this in there. You know, Harry would literally be dead without Hermione or Ron with him. And not having a friend by your side is, in my opinion, a serious L for this game. And it may make you feel really, really lonely when you're traveling throughout the game. Just at certain points, like there's some times where I'm like fighting about a couple trolls, and I'm like, you know, it would have been cool to have like a friend that's working on this troll while I'm working on this troll, and then maybe we can double team this troll while we're, you know, if he finishes his first or something like that, you know, anything like that. It's almost like a stinky reminder that the game's not multiplayer. Your best friend is literally like an old dude in this game, so like it's like kind of dumb, to be honest, that you can't like invite people to come with you on quests and stuff like that. Another gripe that I had, towards the middle of the game, I would say, you'll have like all this fucking money to spend, but there's literally nothing to buy. You can buy like brooms and like potion stations from like the guy who sells like tables and shit like that. But once you buy those, it's pretty much there's pretty much nothing left to buy. Speaking of brooms, all the brooms function the same exact way. They're just cosmetic. You can spend literally like $5,000 to $7,000 on a broom that looks a little bit more green than another one, but it doesn't have anything else stat wise that's special about it. Same with the wands. You collect all these like wand handles and stuff throughout the game, and it's just for cosmetic purposes. Again, it's kind of like a soft thing. I feel like it's very soft of them to do that. I wish we had like gear stats on brooms and wands. I also wish creating my wand, which you do in this game, it's cool creating your wand. It is really cool. But it doesn't change anything. Like it'll tell you what your wand is when you go into the pause menu and look at your stats. But like, it doesn't matter what wand you made, because your character still does the same type of combo, the same 4-hit combo, and he looks the same when he does it, no matter what character you are, no matter what broom handle you have. And that's kind of a bummer in my opinion. I wish you could kind of change the style in which you use, you know, your wand. You know, like Voldemort will use his like more like snake-like, I would say. And like, you know, it's just like, it'd be nice to be able to have a variety when it comes down to it. Another thing, I know it's spoken on a lot in reviews, but it is something that I think a lot of people do need to talk about with this game. This game would literally be amazing if they added a morality system, kind of like Knights of the Old Republic, where you had good and dark, or where in like Fallout 3, where you had good, neutral, and bad karma. If they would have introduced a morality system like that and had like different branching endings, that would have been amazing. Without the morality system, you're just left feeling like an errand boy for the most part. I won't touch too deep on the whole morality system thing, but you can feel the lack of choice, and that's not good for an RPG. On top of that, don't come into this game thinking it's deep with RPG stats and shit like that. It's bare bones. And that's not like a bad thing or anything, but if you are looking for like something with like, poison effects, like a luck stat and an intelligence rating and stuff like that, there's none of that. It's really just offense and defense, which is fine. But again, if you want a deep like Diablo style RPG experience, this isn't it. The gear you collect is like the main stat holders in this game, and it's nice that you can wear something ugly and you can still pretty much have the option to transmog it into something else that you like cosmetically. So you pretty much don't lose any of the stat bonuses either. So like you can have like this really cool red robe that you like, and then you just so happen to find a green robe that is way better. You can go into that green robe and turn it into your red robe, but it'll still have the same stats as that green robe. A lot of you would be very familiar with this if you played like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's pretty much got the Odyssey approach to gear and stuff, and I thought that was like one of the best things about this game, and one of the best things about Odyssey as well. I love like all these different gears that you can make look how you want to look and still have the same stats. I think every RPG should be pretty in tune with doing that nowadays, and it's really nice seeing it in this game. Speaking on the gear, excuse me, I'm reading from my script that I wrote. Speaking on the gear, the inventory system is messy sometimes. You can hold like 40 items all together. That includes like hats, scarves, glasses, and et cetera, et cetera. And once you cap out, you're forced to sell or dismantle the things that you have if you want to collect more things. This comes up so many fucking times, man. Because of my OCD nature of just collecting every chest that I see. So sometimes I'll open a chest for the game to tell me like, no, sorry, your gear slots are full. And then I have to literally pause the game, open the menu up, go to gear, delete an item just to pick up a shit item. And you'll never know what items are shit or which ones aren't, because each chest gives you random loot. Like you may dismantle a purple item for space, for example, and then out of nowhere, you that chest that you were trying to pick up, you get a green glove. And it's just shit. It's shit. It's complete shit. It's worth less than the purple item you just deleted. And I just personally don't think you should have to dismantle things at all. You should. And when you dismantle, you don't get any like material or anything like that. It just deletes the item pretty much. So that's kind of annoying to me. If the game doesn't allow you to fast travel when you're in these ruins and these dungeons, the only option you really have is to delete the item, or dismantle the item, I should say. Now, again, that's just another soft mechanic, in my opinion, that they didn't pay attention to. They could have easily solved this issue with a stash system. Almost every RPG, I feel like, has a stash system, especially when it's a looter type RPG like this is. And it's not a looter per se, but when you collect loot, it's random. So it is kind of a loot system. They do the green, the blue, the purple, and the gold tier items, and it's random sometimes. Sometimes you'll pick up a gold item off an enemy. Sometimes you'll just pick up green items off enemies. It's very random. Like I said before, with dismantling a purple, you'll get a green sometimes, and it's sometimes very tedious. But yeah, they could have fixed this by having like a stash in your common room. So like if you are over encumbered, it'll send the items that you're picking up in the world to that stash. Then you can later go to your common room, open your stash, and then grab the items you want to sell or dismantle or whatever when you get there. I don't know why they didn't think about doing that. I feel like they did a lot of really good things with this game, but like things like that are things that they forgot, it seems like. I don't know why. I guess they just said, fuck it, who needs it? But I don't like the idea of having to dismantle things. I really don't like that. I don't like deleting things that are worth money just because I'm trying to collect everything in a certain area. It just doesn't work out for me like that. Games these days release with massive issues and broken mechanics that the devs need to fix down the road, like it's a live service game or something. This game maybe had like a few glitches that were more fun for the game than game breaking, I would say. Oh my god, game just glitched really bad.
Really?
Dude, I'm floating in the air. I'm flying right now, dude. I'm like it thinks I'm in water, but I'm all the way above the fucking ground. What the fuck?
Nice. Can't wait to watch that later.
Oh my god, dude. And more so towards the latter half of the game as well. Again, they weren't game breaking. They were just kind of goofy enough to mention in the review. I should be throwing up some examples of just goofy glitches that happen to me here and there. Again, not game breaking, just kind of goofy. Other than that, the game's release was a true breath of fresh air for gamers, I feel like. I was amazed and just purely happy at how much fun I had with Hogwarts. I spent around, I'd say a little more than 60 hours in game on my main character. And I have just a few random chests to collect. So I pretty much did everything that the game has to offer, including the platinum trophy, which, like I said, I'm literally like 5 or 6 chests away from completing the game 100% trophy wise. I'm a big trophy guy, so once I hit 100% trophies, there's not a lot more to do in the game, and there really isn't a lot more to do in this game than to just start a new playthrough with a different house. I truly believe this game launched in almost a perfect state, I would say. I got the early access release, which was the deluxe edition. It was $10 more. It gave me 3 days early access. That comes with a couple random cosmetics that look cool. I would say they look pretty cool, but they aren't really worth the $10 upcharge, I would say, considering now there's no early access. The game is just out now. I don't think they're worth $10, but that's just me. It also came with like a battle arena, which was, it was cool, I suppose. If you're one of those people that chooses not to get the dark, like the unforgivables and the killing spells, if you just choose to be that kind of guy that doesn't use them, the arena that the deluxe edition comes with gives you those spells to play with. So it's kind of a way for you to cheat the system and use those items or use those spells without actually, you know, having to unlock those spells. To each his own. You know, if you want to pay the $10 more for it, there's some cool cosmetics, I would say. I played the game on PS5, and visually the game was stunning. It looked really, really, really good. Not as stunning, I would say, as like Red Dead 2, but it's not much worse than how Red Dead 2 looked. I think Red Dead 2 was pretty much top tier, how a game can look visually at least, and I thought this game was pretty much right under that. The PS5 version also came with an exclusive quest that, in my opinion, might have been the best quest in the game. I won't spoil it, and I hate to say that it was probably the best quest in the game because I know it's going to trigger something deep inside you, but truly the quest was awesome. It was really, really cool, and I don't understand how they can make it an exclusive quest because it is really good. On PS5, the game did run really smoothly. It did have a few frame rate hiccups here and there. Especially when you're fighting a lot of enemies, there would be a random point where, like, if a bunch of enemies are attacking at once, it would slow down a little bit. It wasn't super noticeable though, and it also wasn't consistent enough for me to bitch about. The load times were also almost instantaneous. I never felt like it dragged the game in any way. Fast traveling was instantaneous, I would say. I would say this game is like a perfect like example of for instance, like with Red Dead 2, it was the perfect cowboy game. I would say this is the perfect wizard game. This is the perfect like Harry Potter game. This is like the perfect, like, if you want to like role play and be a wizard, this is that game. It's on par with this is as good of a wizard game as Red Dead is a cowboy game. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stick to it. I've been saying it since I finished the game. I loved playing this game, and I just can't wait to start a second playthrough. Maybe sometime after all these other cool 2023 games come out. You know, we got Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil 4 Remake, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Diablo 4, though I don't feel like I'm in any rush to go through a second playthrough, seeing how it's a single player game, obviously, and it doesn't really have a lot of differences aside from a couple of like minor quest differences for like the different houses. So that's kind of a bummer. The differences are very minimal though, in my opinion. All in all, I'm going to give Hogwarts Legacy an 8 out of 10. I truly love this game. The world, the characters, the combat, it all just works really well out of the gate. I do wish they added a morality system, like I previously said, and some more branching story options, especially on the side quests. Some of the side quests were really deep, and they didn't really give you the options that I would want to see, especially from side quests that don't matter as much for the main story. It felt like it was made for a younger audience, an audience that's probably not too familiar with like mechanics such as like rolling and blocking and multitasking your spells and stuff like that, and like the RPG elements. I think it was meant for a more like, you know, more casual crowd when it comes down to it like that. I think it was meant for people that aren't really as into that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, my girlfriend, Adriana, she's never really played video games in her life, really. She plays The Sims and that's about it. And she is adapting to this game really well. It seems like it's really working for her. She's got some moments where she kind of has like difficulties with combat, but all in all, she gets through it and it feels really smooth to her. So she says. Even somebody like myself that likes a more deeper RPG with like all those like different stats and builds and stuff like that really can enjoy just the simplicity of what Avalanche put together with this game. And what they put together is truly a game changer in a modern day world riddled with just half-baked games. So I gotta say, this game is worth every penny. It's an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. I think in the future, if they add some of the things that I was just previously talking about with my nitpicks that I had, I think they could literally make the perfect game, to be honest with you. If you've played older Harry Potter games, this blows those out of the water completely. This is a great experience for somebody who's trying to kind of jump into RPGs a little bit more and learn the mechanics of them. It's very, very fun, and it is totally worth it. Hey everybody, I appreciate you guys for watching. I know this is a little bit of a longer review, but for being my first video game review, I wanted it to be a little more lengthy so you guys had something to kind of, a little more detail to go off of. So I do really appreciate everybody who stuck around and, hung out until the end. Hopefully I swayed you in some way, whether you were on the fence or not. Maybe I swayed you towards getting it. Maybe I swayed you towards not getting it. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the review, and thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Have a good one, guys. Bye. Bye.